every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, noon Eastern. You think about it, we rant about it. Listen to us live on Facebook.
You know, we got to change that start because is it live on Facebook or live on Meta? I don't know. But you know, I'm wearing orange today to be bright so you can see me when I put my hands up in the air because we're talking about a disgraced athlete. Because I don't think there's anything other than the word disgrace that describes Colin Kaepernick. This guy is a dirtbag looking for attention in all the right places or wrong places. Not only is he almost a semi-white privileged guy, he's a privileged guy. And you know what? I'd love for him to turn his taxes over. But when your name is Colin Kaepernick and your picture gets replaced with George Floyd, I gotta wonder how important and how you're going to be remembered. But David,
No.
I hear you got a lot to say
Yeah.
about this Colin Kaepernick or Pumpernickel Pickle.
Whatever. Anyways, let's not get into the name, folks. So for those of you who are unaware, this is a former National Football League quarterback. He went to the Super Bowl with the San Francisco 49ers a number of years ago. Really prominent. Was really at the top of his game a few years ago. And then as part of an interesting movement, he wanted to draw attention to police brutality. And he was one of the first athletes who insisted on kneeling during the national anthem, which prompted a huge scandal and throughout sports and whatever. This is all pre-COVID. And all at the same time, his skill set started to diminish. He was beaten out by another quarterback. He lost his job and eventually released by the San Francisco 49ers, to which he called racist. He also accused the rest of the NFL, the other 31 owners, of not recruiting him, not trying to sign him up. Nobody wanted to sign him up. And again, accused everybody of racism because there was a discrimination. He filed lawsuits. He's went after people. And as Stuart said, he tried to create attention because he decided to have his own private workout session so that people could see him in action. They came out and he made a big to-do about location and who and how and what, all to control the narrative. And at the end of the day, no one signed him. But oddly enough, brands like Nike and others have decided that Colin Kaepernick represents a symbol in the United States, right? The fight for black freedoms, espousing the Black Lives Matter. And frankly, Colin Kaepernick has been less than, while he's drawn attention in the right direction, he's been divisive in the way he's done it. So Netflix decided that we're going to let's do a documentary, okay? Let's do a whole series together because Colin Kaepernick apparently is now, I don't know what, Malcolm X or Martin Luther King or whatever you want to compare him to. And at the end of the day, Colin Kaepernick starts off his first episode. How? Comparing the National Football League draft to modern day slavery. He says hang
on a second. NFL draft is more like the picking of your gladiator fighter in a slave market.
Hold on. Yeah, let me exactly. The point that what he's trying to argue is that and this is what he says, quote, they put you on the field, teams poke and examine you, searching for any defect that might affect your performance. No boundary respect, no dignity left intact. And he says that he's, basically then the scene transitions to an open market in American slavery era where the players, shirtless and shackled, are then sold before one of the slave owners, shackled hands with a football coach, merging the past with the present. This is a Netflix series promoting Colin Kaepernick's statements. And quite frankly, what makes me ill is to say that your opportunity to make millions of dollars is likened to slavery. You're talking about a sport that turns over a lot of players. There are hundreds and hundreds of players, actually thousands of players in the National Football League, in the Canadian Football League, in other football leagues. And if you're calling this slavery, man, this guy, not only does he need a shake, but Netflix should be vilified for promoting this to young people to believe that the National Football League draft is another form of modern day slavery. Stuart, I am going to throw off.
I got to jump in. Okay, first of all, I don't know how the NFL, which is one of the most powerful names in sports, allowed Netflix to actually publish it.
They have no control.
Yeah, they got a lot of control. The minute you use the word the NFL, that is a machine, David. I'm sorry. Number two, I didn't know that being a slave or being traded at a slave market was an option on a volunteer basis. Moreover, that the slave, as you said, gets paid hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars on the low end, David. There are people that make
No
six
more, no
digits.
more, no
There are
more,
players that
no
make six
more.
digits.
Minimum players now are making in the millions. Forget the average, but we're not talking about a couple of dollars of chump
I'm
change.
just telling you, there are players that don't make millions, David. And I'm going to finish my point. Regardless, to the guy that working at McDonald's, the guy working at Wendy's, the guy working at the disgraced Unilever Ben and Jerry's, who works for a measly, which was 8 to 12, now it's maybe $20 an hour, is still a far cry. Moreover, this privileged prick has the audacity to compare the elite sports league, NFL, of which, again, I'm not a major fan of. They're pretty, they're pretty hardcore. But at the end of the day, the guy's a jerk. He's a fake. We would call it a fake prophet. The guy is in it for himself. He's a disgraced football player who's failed. And this is how he's going to operate.
But the thing to me, it's I'm not going to pick I'm not going to get after his personality. It's the statement. And I want to tell you something. If you go to any state in the United States right now, especially in Texas, in Florida, Alabama, whatever, New York, California, they're producing football players. Last I checked, of any color, any race, any religion. And to sit here and to have the balls to say to me that this is akin to a modern form of slavery, and again, he's talking, of course, about blacks, not about anybody else. I'm sorry, but there was a Canadian. There are Canadians in the National Football League. There's a white guy from Montreal who's in the National Football League. Is he being treated like a slave in the draft? He's in the worst position. The offensive lineman has the most scrutiny and the highest turnover and the shortest time frame in the NFL. And is he considers himself a slave? No.
I got one better. Where is the Asian American Alliance?
No. Where are Black Lives Matter, the ACLU? Where are all those organizations that have been yelling and screaming? And to tell me that Colin Kaepernick is the new George Floyd or whatever akin to that, you know what? If that's the man who's going to represent your cause, quote unquote, really? This is who you want at the forefront? Talking nonsense? That's saying it's slavery? That my option? And by the way, just so we're clear, the lowest paid person in the National Football League in 2021, it was making over $600,000. It was $660,000. That's the minimum.
Yeah.
$660,000. And if you're telling me that is slavery, to be able to play 1 year of football for $660,000, come on, like something's wrong with this mindset. And Netflix is as guilty as can be for promoting Colin Kaepernick's words. What influence is that going to have on young people? I don't care what race you are. This is where it's so off the rails.
But David, why does this have to be race? I got to tell you, and why does it have to be about blacks? Last time I checked, slave and slavery is thousands of years old.
It's got nothing to do with the problem, Stuart, is frankly that he cares nothing about anybody else but himself. And moreover, he's claiming to be the black man. He has no life anywhere else. Like I said, Nike loves him and, gave him, put him in a beautiful commercial. And now he's got this Netflix thing. And I'm sitting here and I'm going, and in God honest, like to sit there and to tell somebody, a 15, 16-year-old, that, if you want to get to the NFL, just so you know, it's akin to slavery. What are we teaching kids? Seriously, what are we teaching kids? That a process that only is the elite of the elite make it. I don't care what sport you're in. The elite make it. And if you're telling me that this is slavery, then what the hell? Do you know what kids are going to think about? That the entire slave movement back in the 19th century, in the 18th century,
NFL football players.
Was it all football? Like, what the hell are you telling people? And don't give me this, it's not what it is, or whatever. Give me a break. There's just no way that you could sit here and convince me that this makes any sense. This is absolutely egregious to go out and make that kind of statement and for Netflix to promote it. Okay? Yes, he did kneel, Jennifer, to combat police brutality against police. And I'll tell you something. Even that made a bit of sense. But when prompted to say, okay, other than standing in front of a camera, what else are you going to do? Where was he? Like, he's all about show. There's nothing more into this guy and Colin Kaepernick.
I challenge a Colin Kaepernick. I dare him to be debated by a non-left-wing media outlet. And I'd just like to see this dumbass just be called out for a hypocrite, white spoon, black spoon, but just golden spoon kid. The guy's football wasn't so good because he just ended his career. He wasn't worth the headache he caused.
I gotta tell you, there are former football players who are black are freaking out right now, freaking out at Colin Kaepernick, who've called his statements absolutely egregious. One absolutely is now a congressman who played in the NFL in the 70s and 80s, and he goes, how dare Colin Kaepernick compare the evil endured by so many of our ancestors to a bunch of millionaires who chose to play a game. That's what he tweeted. And you know what? Damn right, that's exactly the problem. Is you're sitting here and you're saying nothing is good enough. Everything is bad. And it's amazing that when you're going into these schools and you hear that they're teaching critical race theory, you are now brainwashing people to believe this kind of crap. No. There's a limit. They've gone way past the border. And I would absolutely erase Colin Kaepernick. I would absolutely send nasty emails to Netflix to get rid of this show and to never show him again. But of course, they won't do that. Netflix loves this attention.
David, it never ceases to amaze me. But on a lighter note, maybe this guy will just crawl under a rock because he has to hide behind his successful wife.
He doesn't. But the thing is, Stuart, that's the thing. He had a successful life. And you know what? Like everything else,
he didn't have a successful life. He had his career taken away from him after 3 years.
No. The guy in 2 years went to a Super Bowl, was a playoff, was very, very successful. But like everything else in sport, the body rebels. The body rebels. He was beaten out in his position, and instead of working towards trying to get another job, he pissed everybody off. 32 teams don't want to know from him. No football wants to know from him.
He wasn't qualified for another job.
Stuart,
he was a substandard employee.
Stuart, the man said, if I can't play in the NFL, I won't play anywhere else. He is toxic. He is purely toxic. And you know what? Jennifer, you point out he's 34 years old today. Great for him. Tom Brady's 44 years old, still playing in the NFL. And you want to know what? All of the players.
How many Super Bowl rings has Brady's got?
7. But the NFL players.
Brady's got more NFL rings than years that Kaepernick has in the league.
The NFL Players Association, former players, regardless of color or whatever, should be distancing themselves today from this guy. I think that he had something going with police brutality. He had a movement going, but I think he went way over the line here. And I wouldn't be surprised if there is, the NFL is refusing to comment on this, but I wouldn't be surprised if Colin Kaepernick now is not
just a super league shit organization.
He is now super league persona non grata. There is no way I believe him. And when you look at NBC News, People Magazine, all these liberal media that have been so like pro Colin Kaepernick, they're now the ones who are saying, what the hell did you just do?
I just got to give you in closing, I'd like to congratulate all the voters in Virginia for being a good Commonwealth and voting stupidity out. And the more we understand how stupid people on the left are, maybe we'll out this stupid idiot.
Anyway,
And
Stuart,
thank you.
moving on.
Kudos to Burgess
Moving
Owen.
on,
Yeah.
moving on. We'll see what happens. But the point is, as you could see, the thing is that people aren't stupid. There were things that were exposed. Fallacies were exposed in Virginia, just like fallacies are exposed here with Colin Kaepernick, and
Yep.
people react. People have reacted. Ladies and gentlemen, Stuart's giving me the slash throat signal, so that must mean we're out past our quarter hour. We'll catch you again on the other side on Friday. We look forward to speaking to you guys all then.
Oh,
Thanks
it's
so
going to
much.
be a good Friday, David.